Okay, for this next Conti crayon drawing, I'm going to use all three values. I'm going to use my black, my white, and my earth color, or looks kind of like terracotta, or burnt sienna if you're an oil painter. So I'm going to start with the charcoal drawing. I'm going to measure my pot, and from our first drawing, I know it's twice as wide as it is high. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. I'm going to make it as high as my piece of charcoal, and twice as long, is it? I think I said twice as long. I may have said twice as high. It's twice as long as it is high. I think I said that. Let's hope so. Anyway, you get my meaning. So I'll draw a rectangle that approximates the height and the width of that bowl. As I measure it, the opening is about a quarter of the overall height. So I can divide this in half, the top half in half, divide that in half, and then the opening will fall right into place right about here. Again, I'm starting with fine charcoal. Why? Because it's easy to erase if you make a mistake. All right, there we go. I think that's okay. There's the rim on here. And if I measure the edges of the side and the shape of it, these sides are vertical, and then the shape of it is a nice, beautiful round shape. Now, there is a foot in the bottom of this. So I'm going to draw two ellipses. I can measure the width of the overall, the foot versus the overall rim, and it's half the width of the bowl. So that means if I come in a quarter, half the way on each side here, my foot is going to land right here. And I'm going to put two ellipses, one for the bottom of the foot, another one for the top edge of the foot. So then I have a nice little foot at the bottom of this pot, which I think is a nice feature. And then this pot curves in like so. I'll sit back and look at it. Okay, it's okay. I think it's a little rough, but it's a diamond in the rough. I think it looks fine. So now I'm going to see if I need to edit this at all. Maybe a little touching up here and there. And now I'm going to use switch from my charcoal, my vine charcoal, to my Conti. So I'm going to use all three values here. I'll start with this. So on my first drawing, I was using the white of the paper versus the darker value of my Conti, right? It was very simple. But this time I'm going to refine or define this in a very different way. This is going to have a very different texture than my first drawing, because I'm going to be layering and layering and layering with my black and white on top of this, and therefore creating a much denser, richer looking result. Again, you can use Conti either way. I like Conti. Some people prefer charcoal, some pastels. I like all drawing mediums essentially. But Conti has its own place. If I'm trying to decide whether I want to do a drawing with pastel or Conti or charcoal, it depends on the idea of the drawing, what I want it to look like. Now I'm going to come in with some black on this and start defining the shadows, and I'm going to start to layer. And that layering is going to make a richer, denser looking drawing. And I'm not doing too much erasing. I'm going to try to avoid too much erasing because of Conti being more of a permanent drawing material, more permanent than, let's say, charcoal. It doesn't lend itself as well to erasing. And again, that's why I started with charcoal. Let's introduce some white in here. Create some lighter values. So you could call this a monochromatic drawing. In other words, one color and black and white. So far, so good. And what's nice about the Conti, you can layer and layer and layer it and build up your image. A lot of artists like to use Conti for figure drawing, and it does lend itself to that in a really nice way. Creates a nice warm look. So I'm getting a very different texture as a result of the layering. Let's see if I can clean up this edge a little bit. That doesn't look as well. So I'll have to incorporate that into the background. So in other words, if I have my background here, and backgrounds are always good. Your eye never sees anything out of context. By putting a background in here, it creates a nice visual context for the drawing of the bowl. And also it can get rid of, as you can see, any little unwanted things I don't want in there. Here. Let's see how we're doing with time. Well, we're coming up, we're just past 8 minutes here. So, I think you've seen enough. We'll be doing this in class, but I wanted to kind of show you in a little video that you could review then over and over again, just how Conti works and what it looks like, the layering process. After this, we're going to do pen and ink, I think, and then we're going to get into color. So color is always fun. So you'll be picking up some pastels for that purpose. Alright, just a little past 9 minutes, so I'm going to call it on this. But you can see, if I want the opening of this to open, the bowl have an opening in it, I'll put a little black on the inside behind the rim here, like that, and that gets the rim to pop forward. Because dark recedes and light comes forward. Okay, so there's a couple quick little lessons on using Conti. We're going to try this in class and we'll see how it goes. All right, there we go.